Extreme Anime Radio.
Welcome to the Extreme Anime Radio podcast. Welcome to all of you Twitch followers and all you podcast listeners. It is October the 5th, 2023. I am JR, and he is Nef Canuck over there. Hello, sir.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
Oh, doing all right. Missing the wonderful times that we all had in Canada together.
Yes, and if you're listening to us live during this podcast, you're also missing what I like to call the toilet bowl.
What's that?
That being Thursday night the Thursday night football game, featuring the team from Washington and the team from Chicago, both with a combined record of 0-6.
Oh, great!
Or to call it 0 and suck.
Well, I think you picked us as a good evening here for our shenanigans here on the XAR podcast. Welcome everybody listening and watching. Remember, if you're watching us, you'd like to take us on the road wherever you decide to go. Anchor.fm/anime radio, powered by Spotify. And if you're listening to us, watch all of our shenanigans at twitch.tv/extreme anime radio. We welcome everybody here. Now, Neff, as we're coming on the air tonight, speaking of the Chicago Bears, we learn of a passing of arguably one of the finest linebackers in all of professional football, that being Dick Butkus.
Yes, unfortunately, I think he was just before my time in terms of getting into the NFL. But from what I've seen of his records and the film there is of him, he was a very talented football player and had a very productive life off the field after his career was over as well.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't see, though, how old was he when he passed?
80, I think.
Well, 80 is a good run, although it does, make you wonder and go, 80, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Then you look at your birth certificate and go, oh dear.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Enjoy every moment, folks. But yeah, definitely one of the finest linebackers, if not the finest linebacker in football. Played for many years with the Bears, I believe. I want to say in the 60s and 70s was about, Neff, if I'm not mistaken.
That does sound about right, yeah.
And multiple-year Pro Bowl selection, Hall of Fame, obviously, and somebody who intimidated a lot of offenses back in his day.
Oh, yes. Mr. Butkus was very large for the era.
Yes.
I say that for the era because if he was in the modern NFL, he'd probably be considered small and been booted up to the CFL.
Yeah. Yeah, Dick Butkus is going to be missed at the age of 80. That just coming out in the short time before we came on the air tonight. We'll talk about some other football that we enjoyed, CFL football, because that was part of the week-long itinerary for Bri and for you and for myself. By the way, Bri is in the Twitch chat, so she'll be commenting on what her thoughts are, on our trip during the broadcast there in the chat. But yeah, CFL was towards the end of the trip, and crosstown rivalry, if you will, Toronto Argos and Hamilton Tiger Cats, and we saw exactly who was the better team, didn't we?
Yeah, like to be fair, they were 11-1. The Toronto Argonauts were going into this game, so you had a pretty good idea that as long as Toronto fielded their full team, that Hamilton basically didn't have a chance, and they pretty much proved that throughout the game.
Yes.
Up to and including managing to get a safety out of them.
Yes, that was a fun play, wasn't it?
It's like, wait a minute, there had to have been a receiver in the area.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
We had the wonderful CFL officiating crew, including the I believe the Quebecois referee.
Yes, the fully bilingual referee who, for some strange reason, always manages to make it onto the TSN broadcasts. He's always the referee they have, and I don't know why.
Yes. So anyway, we get to watch the play, and the Hamilton quarterback runs back, behind the goal line and throws the ball. So they go, okay, incomplete pass. And then the line judge, I have it on the video too, because I want to make a meme out of it. The line judge you see walking over to the referee and just pointing in there. And they're like to each other, that's intentional grounding, eh? And I think he has his mic on and he yells intentional grounding, and he just pity drops the yellow flag onto the goal in the end zone there.
Yeah, and again, it was just like, oh, it's going to be one of those nights for Hamilton, isn't it?
I tell you, we had a wonderful time. BMO Field has got that nice little collegiate feel to it because the small capacity, only like 30,000, I think, in there, right?
25. However, thanks to the World Cup, they will be apparently expanding that by 2026 to 36,000.
Okay.
Now, we had a decent crowd that night.
Oh, we did.
But I don't think they'll be able to fill 36,000 in that place yet. And even though they won the Grey Cup last year and look well on their way to at least appearing in the Grey Cup.
Yeah.
In Hamilton's stadium in Hamilton, which for a Hamilton Tigeret fan is the equivalent of basically, having your neighbor come to your door, crap on your door, light it on fire, and say, hi. So, yeah, that's going to be epic, assuming that Toronto does win. Now, since they've already clinched the division under the CFL playoff rules, they basically get a bye and will meet the winner of the first round at BMO Field for the Eastern Conference Final.
Right, yeah. Bri says the Argonauts are awesome and they were wild. The fans were shaking the whole stadium. Wow, I would think so too. First down, Argos.
The best part was the Hamilton fans who made it out there tried initially. They tried to make noise. They tried to shout the Argonauts fans. But by the halftime, you could see some of them just slinking out the door with their tail between their legs.
Except the ones who took public transit like we did.
Oh, and then speaking of slinking with the tail between the legs, somebody at the Toronto Argonauts PR department needs a raise. Why?
Oh, why?
Because they got the Toronto Argonauts mascot, Jason and the Argonauts, wearing a tiger costume. So it looked like he was literally riding a tiger cat.
Yes.
Now, the tiger cat fans, I did catch a couple of them. They were not happy with that. I had this temptation to go, who's your daddy, to the Tiger Cat fans down the road, but I was like, no, be nice, be Canadian. But it was like, oh dear, that's no.
I tell you, very Canadian experience, not just seeing the game, but also taking the GO train to and from the game. We had, Neff striking up a conversation with some of the passengers on the 30-minute trip back home.
Yes, and I mean, for a game where their team basically after the first quarter was nowhere near the Argonauts, nowhere near. They were actually, I thought, I would say, not unhappy, but they weren't as unhappy as I thought they'd be.
Mm.
But they were more like, okay, we kept it close for a while. We know the Argonauts basically own us.
Mm.
We're not happy about it.
Mm.
But, playoffs are a different matter.
Yeah.
Now, that assumes, of course, they win the playoff game, and assuming they get to the playoff game. So we'll see.
Well, but definitely a wonderful experience there. And like I say, all around, we had a nice, wonderful time with Neff. We went to, was it Markham where that Japanese store is?
That's correct. Markham, Ontario has a collection of stores that are collectively known as J-Town, which features Japanese food, including grocery items, other things like bakery items, and a lot of, actually, I thought very interesting knickknacks and other things, including, sake sets. And I'm just looking at this stuff and I'm going, I'd like to buy that. I don't know, put it in my house, so it has to stay here.
But I tell you, for us Americans, going there and getting cheap eats in the Japanese store over there.
Well, again, remember that's because we have the Canadian peso up here.
But no, wonderful baked goods, and we rated the snacks. And one story leads to another as we talk about this. So, as some of you know, we rented a Tesla. My second rental of a Tesla, and I'm loving how it drives still. And we did a lot of driving in the Tesla. I want to say about 400 to 500 kilometers. You think it was a good estimate, Neff?
Yeah, I would think that's a fair estimate.
So the bulk of the trip, the big trip we did in the Tesla was from Toronto to Niagara Falls and back. That's 125 miles, 125 kilometers each way, 250 kilometers round trip. So plus that, and plus it's like, quite a little bit of a distance to get from our hotel to where Neff was staying and vice versa. So that's our rough estimate. So our total charging fees in the Tesla, I think, what did I tell you, Neff? It was like $26 Canadian, which is about $20 US.
Yeah, you told me that, and I'm going, especially when, I had to fill up with gas before I went to the dentist this week. And it was like, ooh, I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Even though normally I'm filling up with my hybrid once every 2 months or so. Yeah. It's still like ick.
All right, but yes, we only charged it up 3 times. The first charge was in Etobicoke, and what's the mall in Etobicoke called? Remind me again.
That's Sherway Gardens.
Sherway Gardens. So we got.
Just before we go any further, folks, he's actually pronouncing it as a non-native speaker because a native speaker would say Etobicoke.
Okay.
As opposed to Etobicoke. we don't emphasize the Coke here, folks, because we're not, Coke heads.
Oh, jeez. Etobicoke. Okay, that's how you pronounce it. All right. So there is a Tesla supercharger, 150 watts. Wasn't too busy when we went there, which was a good thing because with those superchargers, it's the 2 superchargers are linked to one, I guess, device at one time. I guess that's the way it works. So as if you're at the station by yourself, you'll get the maximum charge, whereas somebody else joins you right next to you, you're only going to get half of that. But we charged up the Tesla to go to Niagara Falls, okay? And I think that was like $6 Canadian to go from like 50% to 80%. So we did that. And so, okay, let's go into the mall, and let's go to Tim Hortons. We'll knock off Tim Hortons off of the list for Bri. And in Sherway Gardens, the Tim Hortons was relatively empty. There were a lot of people spread out in the food court over there, all having Tim Hortons. When we got to the line, there was like only 2 people ahead of us. And one, this is a cinch right here, considering a lot of the other Tim Hortons places. I mean, we sat in that drive-through line one afternoon, and it's like, my goodness.
Yeah, the Tim Hortons drive-through line is why I enjoy a hybrid, because basically the car will basically go into like sleep mode while I'm waiting. Mm-hmm. If I was sitting, with my old car, it'd be like, okay, there's $1 worth of gas, there's $2 worth of gas, and I haven't even ordered my food yet.
So, an interesting thing we saw in Sherway Gardens, which I'm going to mention after this quick little advertising announcement. I want to say a special thank you to Liz, all-around hands-on-deck person, crochet goddess, and all-around wonderful person. Liz helped me out with a little thing here in the chat here. And what we're going to do, if you'd like to participate and spend all those coins that you've hoarded over so many months while watching us on Twitch and whatnot, we have a nice little crochet pillow giveaway with our mascots, Sarah and Umemi. So the way you do that is, and I make sure that we have this activated here so you can see it work. Redeem the option that says flip a coin. So in podcast mode, the coin's going to appear right between us, and when we're streaming a game, it'll appear on the bottom of the screen. So if you redeem and you flip a coin, it's a Sarah and Umemi coin that Shinigami Liz put together for us. And take your chance. You can flip the coin, and it could land on Sarah, it could land on Umemi, but there is a small chance that it could land on the pillow. So if it lands on the pillow, you win the pillow. How's about that?
Very interesting.
So if anybody wants to redeem that, go right ahead. I'll make sure it works when it's redeemed, and it should pop up on the screen for quite a little bit once it's redeemed. But anyway, here we go. Call that has redeemed it. Let's see what happens. Sarah! You get Sarah. You don't get a pillow. But yes, you can redeem it, I think, like twice per stream. So it's a cool option to try, and why not? So we wish you the best of luck with that. And again, thanks to Liz for enabling that for us here. So anyway, let's go back to what we saw in Sherway Gardens, which got Neff scratching his chinny chin chin. And, well, us emptying our wallets for that matter. Inside, right nearby the Tim Hortons, we see a vending machine. Hokkaido Bakery canned cake in like a soda can, but it's a can of cake.
And my initial impression when JR pulls this out of the bag is like, what in the name of the seven dwarfs?
Yep. So we were like right away, what flavor you want, Neff? These are the flavors. So we tried 3 flavors. I tried the blueberry chocolate, which was very good. But I don't think as good as the strawberry ones that Neff and Bri had. Bri had the strawberry, and Neff had the strawberry chocolate. What did you think of the strawberry chocolate?
Let me put it this way. I have to plan a trip out to Sherway Gardens to get more.
You're going to have fun emptying your wallet like we did, you know?
Now, speaking of emptying your wallet, did you notice something very interesting when you came and, tootled around for the week?
What's so interesting? Is it about spending or what?
How you were spending.
All credit cards.
Exactly. Tap, credit cards, because up here in Canada, it's not like it's official, but cash is no longer king.
Yeah.
Unless you're doing something where, you don't want the government to know about it.
Mm-hmm. I think there was just, there might have been, no, I still have my $20 Canadian bill from the previous trip, and it still isn't used.
Well, I can tell you, I have one emergency $20 bill in my wallet, and I have not used that. That is at least, I want to say, well, that's actually before my accident, so that's at least 8-9 months.
Wow.
That $20 bill has been sitting there because I just, tap for absolutely everything. Ding, 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 ding.
Oh, yeah.
Get the bill at the end of the month, of course, but, it's so much easier than, okay, pull out the wallet, pull out the change, and deal with the change, and also get, neutered, because if you do a cash transaction, because there are no pennies, they either round up or round down. And they've managed to game the system so that pretty much every time it rounds up.
And you lose.
Exactly.
But yeah, it was a nice experience. Let's see. I try not to carry over 100 many times, much less. I understand. But yeah, up in Canuckistan, he's absolutely right. We pretty much tap for almost everything there, and it's just one of the funny. I wouldn't say funny, but the fun parts is that when you pay the bill, you're at a table at a sit-down restaurant, and the server's just standing there waiting for you to finish your transaction and everything.
Oh yeah, and they look at how much tip you give in the whole 9 yards.
Exactly.
It's one of those things. You just sort of roll with it.
Yeah. But no, we had a wonderful time, and yes, I had to wash the Tesla once. That was fun near our hotel that evening because we got all the salt from Niagara Falls there.
Now, funny you should mention that, because before you showed up, I had to get my heap washed, including the interior, because the interior had not been touched in. I don't even want to tell you how long it's been. But I was trying to figure it out, because my car will immediately, if you put it in neutral, you take your foot off the brake, it slams back into park automatically.
I think with the Tesla, yeah.
Yeah, so you have to manually tell it, no, don't do that. Or, you'll, in this case, because I was using a conveyor belt system, would immediately, destroy your drivetrain. So look it up in the manual and then tell the car jockey and say, okay, when you put it in neutral, hit this button on the rotary dial. Otherwise, bad things will happen and you'll hear a crash.
Speaking about bad things, we had the iOS 17 upgrade come out. I haven't upgraded yet, but of course Neff did. And, well, that was a nice few days trying to fax out your car system.
And it's also done some other damage as well, because my air quality monitor, along with my air purifier, both rely on Wi-Fi.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I had to change the filters on my air purifier after you were gone.
Uh-huh.
And I accidentally reset the air purifier and discovered that under iOS 17, I can no longer connect it to my wireless network.
Oh, no.
It's like, oh, good Lord. So I've, reached out to the company. They have no idea. So I suspect, and I've seen online, that a lot of people are having Wi-Fi and Bluetooth issues since iOS 17 came out. So I think that there is an underlying problem. Now, whether or not, Apple can actually squash that bug,
right?
When in 17.1, because now we're at 17.03, because of thermal runaway in 17.02. It's like, Apple, we are not supposed to be unpaid beta testers for finished software. It's one thing if it's a beta and, things go wrong. That's fine.
Right.
But don't release to the general public software that clearly was not fully baked or fully tested. And this comes from somebody who, tested software at one point in his life and had, something like this happen, but it was because I couldn't do a test that, the bug we found caused, because I was a single person doing a test on a database.
Right.
Everything worked fine. Multiple people tried to hit the database at the same time. All Hades broke loose. So, but it's like, Apple, you have a lot more resources. You should have caught this.
And here I am wanting to update to the latest Apple Watch myself, and I can't do that unless I first update to iOS 17 on my current phone. So it's like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like, speaking of the update, I traded in my phone, and I now have a 15 Pro Max. Now, I understood from how Apple originally presented it that the return would be on a gift card in the mail. Okay, fine. I get an email today saying, yeah, we've processed your return. You're getting X amount of dollars credited to your payment method.
Okay.
That's a problem because my payment method was a cashback card. So now they have to credit it and then recalculate the cashback. And, oh God!
Oh, that's
gonna be a mess.
Yeah, I think what I did for mine, because I still have the Apple card, the one that the card that apparently Goldman Sachs is still trying to sell to American Express or something like that. But yeah, I had paid off the previous phone, and then I guess what they did was that they they set the monthly payments and whatnot, considering the return, and that's how it worked for me.
Yeah, and again, the problem is they never got the Apple Card up here because the banking system up here is a very closed shop, and none of the major banks wanted to do anything to do with it, which I thought was really interesting because I would have figured that at least one of them would have said, we might actually get some, squeeze out of the apple juice.
Right.
Pun intended.
Right. So, yeah, we had a wonderful time, Neff, and we all, of course, brought some goodies home. I brought maple syrup. I brought Bri's maple syrup, and then I shipped it back out. I had a nice little interview with U.S. Customs again because I'm a wonderful person, apparently.
You've been flagged for some reason or another, but at least it's not as bad as... Actually, no, now for you it is, but it's not as bad as, yeah, come over here while we examine you thoroughly because, you have extra parts that weren't standard.
Right. Have you heard the case in New York about Trump this week? Yes. So now let's move on to some other. No,
I was going to say, I've studiously been ignoring it because I know exactly his strategy. His strategy is spew vomit and hope that it all goes away, because that's every time things have blown up for Trump. That's exactly what he's done.
Yeah.
But this time it ain't gonna work.
Right.
Because there's too much dirt under his fingernails for anybody else to say anything other than, yeah, you're guilty.
Yeah.
You ain't running for president. You ain't going to be Speaker of the House. Go away.
Oh, yeah. Speaker of the House is another thing. I mean, come on.
It's like, no, the cult of Trump, finally, your head poobah is going down.
Yeah.
But of course, that means who takes over the cult of Trump? We know it's not Ron DeSantis because that man has the personality of a plank of wood. Every time he tries to act human, it's like, no, you're a lizard person. Give it up.
We still have 11 months enough to, gather our thoughts about this. So we'll see what happens in that amount of time, huh?
Well, I'll say this much. We just had an election in one of the provinces up here, and we now have, for the very first time, an Indigenous premier.
Oh, cool.
So the best part was the former governing party had tried everything to smear this person. Everything. Up to and including an ad campaign that basically said, you are alone in the voting booth. Vote however you want. The inference being, of course, that, the party who, runs those ads isn't exactly what we call opening, welcoming. And that's why I'm glad they got their butts kicked.
Yes. Isn't the Governor General an Indigenous person too?
That's correct. That's very correct as well. So this also puts all of the other premiers who are of similar, mindset, and I use the word mind very loosely, as the former leader in Manitoba, they're nervous now. Even the premier of Ontario, who is trying to bluff his way out of some very, very greasy shenanigans.
Yes,
So, glad to be said, Canadian politics are boring. They're just different.
I've seen his face in the CP24 channel every time we wake up in the hotel room. Goodness gracious.
Oh, that would be a horrible thing to wake up to. I'm sorry.
But no, wonderful memories that we carry on from Canada. I know Bri will share some other thoughts that she had. But yes, wonderful experiences. Obviously, very different culture, and I would have to say one of the finest airlines, believe it or not, to fly because they are very, very punctual and very, very Canadian, and they also talk French on the plane too.
If you ever want to have that opinion completely blown to bits, Reddit/Air Canada, and you will see nightmare fuel. You'll read nightmare fuel.
Oh boy!
But I'm glad you had a wonderful time with Air Canada. I mean, to be fair, I must say yes, I've had similar experiences. Although there were a few glitches here and there, but I always put it down to, hey, life happens, right?
Right. I had a wonderful time going through the airport back home. How can I explain this? I went to the Transborder Lounge, which they had no power outlets because they were doing upgrades, so there were no power outlets available to charge up your phones or electronic devices. That was just the only downside to the whole thing.
Now, this is the business class Transborder Lounge, is it not?
Yes. The Maple Leaf Transborder Lounge.
And they wouldn't have had something like that. That just blows my mind.
Yeah. At least it's a very, very big lounge, but all the places I could see, they have the signs say there's no power because we were upgrading the tables or something like that. So then I walked down, and you probably remember the layout of Pearson F, but I go down from the lounge and walk past the duty-free, walk all the way down. I figure it's about time to get onto the plane. And then I realize, oh, the gates are ending. My gate was apparently the first gate going the opposite direction, so I had to walk back to the duty-free. And it's kind of like a nice little experience when you're walking in reverse after you've cleared U.S. Customs and you're not supposed to walk in reverse.
Now, the problem is, if I'm remembering the layout again, that has a moving sidewalk, but only one direction.
Correct.
Oh, that would just be bad.
Why would you want to run the sidewalk the other way?
Well, no, I'm just saying because I remember I always found it odd that particular section, there was only a one-way moving escalator.
Yeah.
There should be a both ways, but okay, this is Air Canada, this is Pearson, where they don't design things for, normal human beings.
Yeah. I don't think I told you that one, Bri. Yeah. I thought I was following the signs properly to my gate, but my gate was the first gate going the opposite direction from the duty free. So Bri, I think, left out of the same terminal, so she might recognize the layout a little bit. But yeah, I guess it is a good thing that for a frequent flight such as mine going to New York, they'll put it to the closer gate. But still, I mean, come on. Like I said, I wasn't following the instructions there.
Well, the problem is, as I said, the signage and instructions at Pearson fall into two categories. One, so simple that a child could follow them.
Mm-hmm.
Or two, so complicated that you could have a map, a guide, and a Sherpa.
Mm-hmm.
They would look at you, look at the map, and go, we don't know. Flip a coin.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you this much. Anytime I can take, even though I get stopped most of the time, anytime I can take U.S. Customs before boarding the plane, I'll take it. Makes it so easy when you get back home.
Well, certainly, that's the one thing when you come back to Canada as a Canadian citizen, you have to go through all the rigmarole because they don't do any pre-checks before. So, in other words, it's basically you come out of country A and whatever country A does, and then you have to go through, when you get home, and it's like, I get it coming and going.
Oh,
literally.
Bri is saying that Pearson was nuts, crazy long. Her gate was all the way at the end. Oh man.
Oof. Yeah, and as I recall, that was a very early takeoff time, so it's like, ew.
Yeah. Oh, so I went, I did the business class security, which was nice. So I go up there, and I get swabbed. My hands get swabbed for explosives twice. So I think I explained this to you, and you told me that it's because of profiling things that's been going on over there. So, they hand me this little, looks like a toy with a big round button. Push the button. Okay. I don't know what she was saying at first, so I was putting up my boarding pass up to the button thinking it was going to go off. So, no, you push the button. And it's either a light that goes pass or search. Okay. So I hit the button that says search. Okay. So I swab my hands, and you know how there was an app to get through its security? Oh, okay, that was for customs, so I'll get to that in a moment. So yeah, they swab my hands, and then I go to the security line. Now, in the Canadian security line, you have to take out all your electronics, so I did that. I took out my iPad, I took out my Nintendo Switch, and that was fun doing a Switch with Neff multiple times. And when I get to the body scanner, there are no like bigger scanners like they do, the bigger scanners, the more intense scanners like they have here at home. So I verbally declared, okay, I have a hip replacement. My belt is off. Okay, just walk through. And I walk through and it goes off. And they look at me and they go, whoa. So what do? They swabbed my hands again for explosives, and they also swabbed the side of my hip where I had my hip replacement for explosives. And then after I was clear, they let me through.
Well, welcome to the wonderful world of now you have an implant, and now traveling is going to suck even harder.
So what Bri was talking about, I thought it would save her some time. The app that U.S. Customs provides so you can get through customs quicker. You just show them the QR code when you go through. But apparently for her, she's saying that they didn't even look at the QR code. They just took her passport and they asked her 3 questions and then they let her through. Meanwhile, oh yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, it depends. Sometimes you get lucky and you get, a guard who's like, yeah, you look innocent enough. You go right through. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, you get your position where it's like, yeah, we think, you're going to like blow something up. Come here.
Yeah. So, and me, with the global entry, Bri remembers the scanners we had in LA when we came back from Japan. It was the same thing. I took off my mask and my glasses. It took my photo. And this time I got a blue light. Not a green light, but a blue light. So I went to customs. Passport, please. Okay. Let me take your picture again. Okay. So he looks at my passport. Taps away. How long were you in Canada? A week. Okay. And what were you doing? I visited with friends. We went to Niagara Falls. We went to see a Canadian football game. Oh, okay. He's like typing in messages. I obviously don't understand what he's typing. You're a member of Global Entry, aren't you? Yes. About a minute later, he's still typing. Okay, you're good. Okay.
Makes me wonder what he was actually typing all that time.
Exactly.
Just go ahead,
Yeah. But yeah, I'll go through LAX again. They call my name. JR? Yes? Okay, yeah. But no, wonderful times over there. So a little bit of R&R, and then the other day, Neff, we went to my Crunchyroll. And I was actually going through my Crunchyroll because I want to move my Crunchyroll billing from one credit card to another. But the only way to do that is to cancel your existing subscription, let it run out, and then resubscribe with your new credit card. That is the official Crunchyroll FAQ.
That is just poor design. I mean,
yeah,
I actually set up mine years ago to use PayPal just to avoid that, rigmarole, because of course, as we all know, credit cards do expire after a number of years.
Yeah.
And then you only have to, change PayPal once, as opposed to going through, X number of other places. And, I got to change it here. I got to change it here. I got to change it here.
But
which I had to go through when I came back from, my rehab assignment, because my credit card changed while I was in rehab.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's like, it's changing. Oh boy, it's changing the end of this month, and I'm getting out of here like 2 months before the month ends. Oh crap.
Oh no. Did that give you a hint as to what we saw?
Oh yeah. Well, actually, that gives me a very old hint. So I may not be on the right track.
Well, I think you might be on the right track. What are you thinking?
Rurouni Kenshin.
Yes. The 2023 reboot.
Oh, now I'm going to ask, does that have a dub?
I think so. Bri can tell me for sure. I think there's a dub. But we did original language with English subtitles. And yes, it is a retelling of the Rurouni Kenshin with your favorite characters. And we watched 2 episodes. Quite impressed. Spanish. Okay, Bri says yes, but Flock says Spanish only? Nah.
Well, it could be, and I say this because Crunchyroll, the platform, since the big merger with Funimation, they have been working on the platform, and dear God, they have messed things up so badly.
The app looks a lot different now when we watch stuff. It doesn't give you a description anymore unless you kind of dig deep a little bit.
Yeah, plus I don't know if they fixed this problem, because originally they had each language listed as a separate season.
Oh.
Season 1, Japanese audio. Season 1, English audio. Season 1, German audio, etc., etc., etc.
Yeah.
And you have to scroll through all that to get through.
Seeing that before.
Season 1, Season 2.
Yeah. There were a few things on my watch list, and there was like something I've seen before. So let's say I don't know what it was. Let's say it was Ace Attorney.
Okay.
Season 14 now available. Like, what? That's what it says on my screen. If I see it next time I go to Crunchyroll, I'm gonna take a picture and show you. But yeah, that's what it said. Breeze actually said the Flax was right. It's only in Japanese, Spanish, Brazilian, and Thai. No English dub yet, apparently. And it's, 8 episodes in now?
I'm surprised that wouldn't have gotten a semi-dub. Yeah. However, given the issues with the creator of Rurouni Kenshin...
Oh, yeah.
Be an issue with, some executives at Sony going, do we really want to go down this path?
Oh, wait a minute. Flax raises a good point. Could it be because of the SAG-AFTRA strike?
The timing? Possibly, yeah, because they only just settled that strike recently.
No, they didn't. They settled the Writers Guild, not SAG-AFTRA.
Oh, yikes.
So the SAG-AFTRA is going on, although the latest news on that is that looks like the CEOs are finally meeting up with the striking unions, so a resolution could be coming in a few days. So, yeah, that's a very good point. That probably would explain it. Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, I hadn't looked at any new anime in a while because I've been, busy rehabbing, etc. So I wasn't even sure, what the new season. Although I do note that one of the new series for this year has apparently been given a dub. Eminence in the Shadow season 2 is coming out simul-dub, English and Japanese. So there may be some shenanigans going on with that. I don't know.
Right. Oh, and Caldeth also mentions what's the name? Crunchyroll is absorbing the right stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, when Right Stuff sold out, I knew this was coming. It wasn't a question of if, it was a question of when. Now, to be fair, I have not actually purchased anything other than to get anime membership for a number of years, because with the Canadian dollar being as bad as it is, in some cases it's actually cheaper to buy from Amazon.
Yeah.
By the time you go through the conversion and all that crap. But it's like, I saw this news and I'm like, yeah, well, I guess I won't be buying a God Anime membership anymore because there won't be a God Anime membership. But then it struck me, what about the rest of the time? Because they're shutting it down, right?
Yeah.
And that happened, I think, this week. So, or it's supposed to happen, I think, October 10th.
Right.
Which is ironically Canadian Thanksgiving, but let's not go there. So my thing is like, wait a minute, my membership has 3 months to go.
Wow.
So what's going to happen with that?
Exactly.
I guess poof.
Yeah. I just want to point out what Liz was saying. I was tabbing away to look up the news about Right Stuff. So apparently we're back to apparently we're back to if I look at something, Neff goes away. All right, so let's see.
You need another screen, JR.
Let's see if Neff goes away. Did Neff go away?
Yep.
Yeah, he did.
Like I said, you need another screen. I now have 3, technically.
I don't have room.
Well, actually, you've seen the setup I have.
Yeah.
Maybe you could do something like that. Maybe.
Right. With one low and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. But so anyways, and it's like, okay, so, and now, as I said, with the way, and I say this because I've seen this, a lot of people are complaining about Funimation/Crunchyroll's service, sending broken things, incorrect things, and I'm going, that's one thing Right Stuff never did. They always sent exactly what I ordered. It was never a problem. It was always, arrived on time, etc. Always well packed, and I'm going, ugh.
So it'd definitely be an end of an era and an end of a good distributor too. I remember getting back when I was a budding anime fan, those $1 and $5 blind box DVDs, of which I opened a little bit of those.
Oh yeah, I remember that. I also remember they had adult-only blind boxes. Let's just say I bought a couple just for the giggles. It's like, okay, what would they actually be crazy enough to send? And considering that they have now hived off anything they consider adult into another company, which literally they announced it, and there's no trace of that company. So I don't even know if that company actually exists. So I'm just going,
Well, anything else you want to touch on, Neff, before we try to finish Ace Attorney for the 3058th time?
This will be the last podcast before the NHL gets real, because the NHL gets real next week.
Yeah.
The only reason I want to mention it is because the poster child of this year's draft class will be playing in the second game, I think, of the day on Tuesday.
Okay.
Be Connor Bedard. So we'll see now if he can actually live up to any of the hype that he's gotten.
Okay.
Much like the Blue Jays. Let's hope he doesn't do like the Blue Jays, who had a lot of hype coming into the season, and then meekly went into the wild card series and basically, pooped the sheets.
Well, yeah, it's that time. The puck drops on the regular season in just a few days. I know you're looking forward to that, and I know you're looking forward to that special moment when your birthday comes around, right?
Yes, indeed. I'm still in contact with the person with whom I'm planning to go. His rehab isn't going as well as mine has been. Mine isn't going great. His is going worse. But he still insists he'll be able to drive me to the game. And I said, okay, let's see. But, it's January's still a ways away, so we'll see. I mean, he'll get better. I'll get better, hopefully. I mean, I'm still at the stage where when I go to physiotherapy, I'm leaving worse than I want to in. Because one of the things they're doing now is they're trying to force the arm to go farther than I can make it go myself, which is about 90 degrees. So essentially perpendicular to the floor. They're pushing it to about 110 to 120 degrees. Let's just say I make some interesting squeaky noises, apparently. Trying not to scream bloody blue murder while they're doing this.
And Flax, I think, is referring to real quick. So I guess Kala's saying, so I guess you got blackouts on the Leafs.
Well, no, because I actually subscribe. You have to subscribe to 2 TV services now to make sure you get the Leafs if you live in the Leafs region. See, that's the funny thing. If I lived down in the States and I was a Leafs fan, no problem, except for whatever local team they would be facing. For example, if I lived in... Actually, that might be interesting if I lived in New York, because technically there are 2 teams, potentially 3, where it could be blacked out, potentially. But if, for example, I lived in, let's pick an area with only 1 team, Seattle. So I would only get blacked out in Seattle whenever the Leafs played the Kraken, whether it be at the Scotiabank Arena or at the Climate Pledge Arena in Seattle.
All right.
But in Toronto, because the team is owned and the local distribution rights are owned by the 2 major telecom carriers who hate each other's guts and won't, get together on this, even though they actually own portions of the team themselves, you have to go through this whole buying 2 separate services, which makes it very difficult if you want to watch more than 1 hockey game at the same time.
Anyway, so Flox is mentioning the new Ace Attorney game. I believe he's referring to the series remake that's coming out on your birthday, Neff.
Oh yeah, a remake, and I'm going, will they change anything? This could be interesting.
A good old Apollo Justice.
Yes, Apollo Justice. Now, I'll say this. I mean, I've never actually gone in depth with Apollo Justice, because once Phoenix Wright the story had run its course, it was sort of like, okay. But then they bring this whole new character, and I'm like, it just seemed a little, okay, we're just milking the cow a little bit more.
Yeah.
Which is fine, but it's like, yeah, but there's just something about Phoenix, and his buckets of sweat when something goes wrong. It sort of reminds me of my real job. Buckets of sweat when something goes wrong.
So we'll hopefully finish Ace Attorney Chronicles, and maybe we can fill in some gaps with some more detective work. Maybe some of the more classic. We'll restart the classic Phoenix Wright or something in the interim, or we could try something else. Like I've heard the Professor Layton series is quite interesting.
I'd heard good things about it. I haven't actually played it myself, so that'd be an interesting way to go. Yeah.
So, all right. So that will close out the podcast. I'm sure we have much more to talk about, but our hour is already up. So with that, this is gonna be fun. We get to unveil this screen and do the closing commentary.
If you have any questions, concerns, compliments, or complaints about this podcast or anything you hear on Extreme Online Radio, drop us a line at extremeonradio@gmail.com or hit us up on social media. Our social media links are available at linktree.com/anime radio. There you'll find links to our Facebook page, our Instagram account, our Discord server, our YouTube channel, and yes, X.
Yeah.
And all versions of this podcast are available at anchor.fm/anime radio.
So I think for the rest of the month of October, Neff, this is going to be our a little theme when we do video game streams and whatnot. But obviously, when we switch back to this mode, this is already built for our podcast. So unfortunately, it's kind of difficult to change this layout. Neff should have done it like Count Dracula. Well, maybe we'll have him do it like Count Dracula towards the end of the month. How about that?
I was going to say, let's bring Fangface out of the closet closer to the end of the month, because I have heard the coffin rattling. He knows it's October. He's been quiet because he knows I'm not, quite up to speed to put up with his shenanigans.
Yeah.
But he's like, yes, it's October. I want out. I want out. Uh-oh.
Hear that quite well. So he'll be out later in the month, that's for sure, Kyle. Bet your bottoms will do that. All right, so we're going to finish up the podcast. Hopefully, we will schedule some more streams next week after we do the little finale to Ace Attorney tonight. So we'll see how that goes, and hopefully we can finish the game on time. But in the meantime, we thank you for watching and listening to the podcast. For Neff, I'm JR. We appreciate your patronage as always, and remember...
Keep on looking out for the Extraordinary Podcast, and don't forget, archive versions of this podcast are available at anchor.fm/anime radio. Good night, everybody.
Good night. See you next time.